much for being here today. If you could please share with us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your background.
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Kathrins Zenkina, and I am the founder of my personal development company called Manifestation Babe that I founded 5 years ago. And it is essentially dedicated to helping women manifest their best lives. And now best life, I know sounds so super general, but to me, what it means is like really empowering people to discover what it is that they want to create in their life, get super clear about that, and be able to create that regardless of what anyone else thinks, regardless of what society thinks, and really help them break through all of the limitations and the things that they think are holding them back when really it's only holding them back because they think it's holding them back. So that's like the majority of what I do. And that also entails like I'm also an author. I have a best-selling book. I'm also a podcast host of the top 10 podcast, Manifestation Babe podcast. And yeah, that's basically what it is that I do. And my background is kind of interesting because I went from, I consider myself a spiritual teacher. I'm very much in the spiritual realm, like the energy realm. And I actually have a science background. So it's just very interesting how I went from thinking that I was always going to become a doctor. That was like it's kind of funny. I always joke how, immigrants are usually given three options. It's to become a lawyer, to become a doctor, and some people say failure, some people say engineer. Like we have limited options for what our path is. And one day I woke up and I said, no, that path is not right for me. I'm really drawn to manifestation. It's something I've been obsessed with since I was 16 years old. So I'm so grateful to have, discovered that I can create a business, really doing what I love, transforming people's lives and teaching these principles that have personally changed my life as well.
Yeah, that is literally amazing. I am a huge fan of your work and your podcast, and I just think what you do in this world is just absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
So, you're welcome. When you first decided to work with Makosi, what were some of the main things that you were struggling with?
Yeah. So how I met Makosi is really interesting because first she was someone who signed up for this program called Business by Design. That is a program created by one of my really good friends, James Wedmore, and I'm a proud affiliate for his program. And Makosi actually signed up for his program through me as the affiliate. And I didn't like her name kept coming up for me, but it didn't really stand out to me until James actually interviewed her for his podcast. And when I listened to her podcast, there's just something within that podcast where it didn't even matter like what the topic was or what she said or what he said or what the conversation was. It was like this intuitive voice that came through of like, you need to work with Makosi. Like you need to work with her. You need to get to know her. She can help you. She can help you. She can help you. And so at first I'm like, okay, but how do I start this relationship? All right. I don't even know how she can help me at first. Let me just let me get to know her more. So I actually invited her to my podcast and brought her on, and we did an amazing interview. And one of the things that she said to me on that podcast really stood out to me, which described me exactly where I was at that time. And she was talking a lot about this place that a lot of spiritual people find themselves on their spiritual path of, it's called the void. And it's like essentially this place where all of a sudden you reach this point where you realize that there's so much more out there for you. Life has so much more to offer, but the path all of a sudden is very uncertain. The things that used to excite you no longer excite you anymore. You feel like your sense of purpose is gone because you don't even know what your purpose is, even if you thought that you knew it before. It's like you graduate to this higher mission in life, but you don't really have like the path of where to go. You feel like you're in a womb and it's dark and it's not cold. Wombs are very warm, but it's like you have this sense of like coldness and like you don't really understand like, okay, what am I doing? I feel like I'm going crazy. And I'm not really understanding like what's going on. And it was a really scary time for me. And I've actually felt that way since like early 2018. And by the time I talked to Makosi, it was 2020. So she was describing like the people that she most loves to work with. And I was like, oh my God, Oh my God, that's me. That's me. That's literally me. You're literally describing me right now. And so, right after that podcast episode, I actually asked her, like, hey, Mikosi, do you do one-on-one coaching? And she's like, actually, I do. And actually, I knew since like the first time I saw you, I think it was also 2018, if I remember correctly, where I knew that we would work together. And of course, she's a shaman. She's very connected and in tune. Of course, she knew that. But I was like, whoa, the stars are aligning. And so, that day I scheduled a discovery call with her and I just went all in because I knew that whatever she got for me would help unlock that next level for me and give me that clarity and that certainty that I was looking for on my spiritual path.
Yeah. And I love how intuitively you felt into working with her. When she first came into my life, it was something very similar. So it must be part of her magic. Yeah. I swear, she's got it.
It is. It is.
From your last case study to now about a year later, what would you say are some of the biggest changes you made, tangible and intangible, in your business and your life?
Yeah. So the thing that I struggled with the most and what Mikosi helped me with the most was surrender. And that's really how we get through that void, right? Is through just surrender without knowing and understanding exactly what tomorrow's going to look like and the next day and the next day. And since my last case study, I actually created like a big program. I combined two previous programs that I've created, like back in 2018, back in 2017, even, called Rich Babe Academy and Manifestation Babe-Kathrin. And I had this calling to essentially combine the programs together, but not create it from the energy that I was in from 2 or 3 years ago, because I feel like I've lived lifetimes since then and it just wouldn't be aligned with who I am today. So I was like, okay, I know that I want to create this program. And the more that I thought about it, I was like, okay, this is a really big program. I'm thinking 16 weeks. Okay. I'm thinking adding this in and that in and that in. And all of a sudden I found myself in this place where I just felt extremely overwhelmed by like this mountain that is in front of me. And I remember being like, okay, all right, I don't even know like how I'm going to do this. And Mikosi was someone who, we were deep into our coaching relationship at that point. And so I was having a lot of sessions with her, and with each session, she just kept reminding me, like, Kathryn, this is the void. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And this is where so much magic is going to come out of this for you. And you just have to trust the day by day, the moment by moment, the step by step. And this is something that I teach in my manifestation process. Like, let go of the how and just take inspired action as it comes. And most of the time, it's not like you're just going to see the road all the way through to your destination. You're only going to see just a little bit. It's like driving at night and you have your lights on, and it's like you can only see the next like 10 or 20 feet in front of you, and you just have to trust that the road is going to keep going and you're going to get to your destination. And just through the energy work that we did together, we had like a VIP day, VIP weekend in person. And that was right before the creation of this course. And there's just so many alignments that she did for me then. And also just having her like in my pocket on Voxer, and just anytime being like, Magoze, I'm struggling with this. And she can look into things, identify blocks, identify what is holding me back. Like, there's a point when I started creating the program where all of a sudden my body just kind of broke down, like randomly in 3 days. I got these severe, like, it's going to sound so gross, severe boils, like all over my butt and my armpits. And then I had I pulled something in my back that was really deep, to the point where it was very close to my lungs. And it's like my chiropractor couldn't even access it. Like, nobody could access this pulled muscle, but I could feel it in my body. And then there was like this other issue that was going on, and I forgot what the other was. And she was just able to like tap in and be like, Kathryn, you're not breathing. Kathryn, you need to surrender and let go, and just helping me identify those things that I couldn't see without telling me exactly what to do. Like, what I love about Mikosi, she empowers you to figure out your own answers. But if you're struggling, obviously she's going to guide you directly to where to go. And so through our work together, I was able to surrender. And I remember telling her in our sessions, like, Mikosi, I don't even know what I'm going to create in the next module. I don't even know what I'm going to create the next day, but like, I have so much trust in what I'm creating today. And she's like, perfect. Just trust in that and trust in that and trust in that. And like, the path unfolded, and I created what I think is the best work that I ever have in my entire life up until this point. And it's created such, it really drew in such high vibrational, like really hungry, ambitious, compassionate, kind, understanding students that just were my ideal students. And then there was a moment, and like the big theme that I really want to share is like, if you're struggling with surrendering and letting go, like Makosi is your girl to help you with that. Because there came a moment where one of my good friends asked me to speak at his mastermind. And this was like right after, this is actually very recent. And I was telling Makosi this story, and she's like, Kathryn, you have to talk about this in the case study, because this is exactly what I want people to understand and like see of like what's possible, but also, you know, this is like exactly what I love helping people with. And so I was preparing for this mastermind, and usually I'm like the overthinker. I'm over preparing. I'm creating like 100 slides. I'm usually rushing at the end of my presentation because I have so much to say. And I'm like, fuck, I overestimated myself. Like, oh my God. And I just found myself like in this place of like really stressing out. I remember it was Monday that I came home after this 4-week long trip to Greece, to New York. We spent some time in New York, and then we came home. And the presentation was on Thursday. It was Monday. And I was standing in my closet, and all of a sudden I just downloaded this idea of like, what if you had no notes and no slides, and you just showed up and you just trusted? And I was like, that sounds really fucking crazy. But for some reason, I tuned into the both energies. And of course, Makosi, you know, teaches you how to do this. I tuned into both energies, and I was like, okay, there's the energy of my old self, which is the over preparer. Let's create the slides. Let's make sure that we know what we're talking about, and I realized that that version of me is the version of me that really is doing things for the sake of like how others perceive her, rather than genuinely helping people and being like, okay, what do you guys want from me? Rather than, this is how I think I'm going to be perceived, and I want to make sure I'm perfect. And this is how I want to present myself and teach you the content that I think is right for you, not necessarily tuning into what you actually want. And then I tune into this other side where I actually show up on that Thursday and just literally channel and download information and tune into the group right there in the moment. And that sounded so freaking scary. But at the same time, when I really tuned into that energy, I started like hysterically laughing. And I was like, okay, it feels so much lighter. And this feels like a body response. Like, this is my intuition, because intuition's in the body. And Makosi talks a lot about like embodied feminine energy, and how, you know, very often meditation when you're like sitting is more masculine, and meditation when you're like dancing and moving and accessing your body is more feminine. So I could feel my body responding to that. And I'm like, okay, fuck, I have to do this, because I realize I'm at a fork in the road where I can keep doing things the way that things were and accessing this old version of myself, or I can move forward with this new version of myself that Makosi really helped me create over the last year. And so anyway, you know, Monday passes, and I felt like this wave of relief, being like, okay, I just gave myself a 3-day vacation. I don't have to work very much for the next 3 days until, you know, I go and present. So Monday passes by, Tuesday passes by, Wednesday passes by. And I remember Wednesday night, it was like my ego came in for its last opportunity to latch on and be like, Kathryn, it's tomorrow. You need to prepare. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. It's all good. My higher self has got this. And so I went the next day, and I show up, and my friend goes, hey, Kathryn, like, thanks so much for being here. I think there was like 15 people in person and like 25 virtual. So there's like a camera on me, and there's people there. And my whole goal was just to be like, hey, what do you guys need from me? And like envision this like Q&A kind of inspired process where I can just teach people whatever it is that they most need, do some coaching, stuff like that. And I show up, my friend goes, Kathryn, what are you going to talk about today? And I literally go, I don't know. And he's like, okay, I hope it's good. All right. And he kind of like giggles, and he has trust in me. So it wasn't like, oh shit, shouldn't have invited her crazy ass over here. And I go up to the front, and I just remember like just bringing everyone into a meditation, this like space, aligning all of our frequencies together so I could really tune in. And I said, okay, guys, you know, I integrated like the lesson that that I learned myself. Like, when you're overthinking and over preparing, you're really focused on yourself. And when you can just let go and surrender and tune into how to serve these people, then you're making it about service. And so I kind of taught them that. And then I was like, okay, I'm here to serve you guys. What questions do you have for me? What can I help you with? Can I coach any of you or anything like that? And literally the whole room went silent and they were just like blank stares at me. And I was like, okay, all right, fuck, I really fucked this one up. And then, that first like 60 seconds of silence, or probably it was like 15 seconds, but it felt like an eternity to me. And all of a sudden, hands started going up in the air, and we just started going. We just started flowing. I started helping people. And at the very end, there was actually a couple people who listened to me on my podcast, have taken my courses. They knew who I was. And they came up to me and were like, Kathryn, you need to do that more often. Like that was some of your best shit that's ever come through. And I was like, oh my God. And it was so easy. It was so easy. And so I was telling that story to Makosi because she's really the one that taught me to just trust that my soul knows exactly what it's doing. And in the manifestation process, she taught me a lot about how at first, when we're like growing up and maturing on our spiritual path, we are very much in the, we're very much in the 3D manifestation process. Like it's very much like step by step, I'm in control. I need to be conscious 24/7. It's like more robotic. And at some point you hit this like tipping point where all of a sudden it's like, you can just take the back seat and your soul can actually do the manifesting for you, because it's going to manifest the things that are in alignment for you. But also it's like, you don't even have to do the meditating. You don't have to do there's a lot of tools and stuff that people feel like they have to do, but at some point it's like, you can let go of it all and just trust that your soul knows exactly what it's doing. So yeah, I attribute so much of that to Makosi.
That is literally such an amazing shift. I think just the power in stepping into trust with yourself is everything, because the minute we begin to trust ourselves, it opens the doors for everything that we're really desiring. So that's
and we begin to trust life. If we trust ourselves, we trust life. We have a hard time surrendering when we don't trust ourselves, because then I can't trust life, or I can't trust myself. And so therefore I can't trust life.
Yeah, exactly. That's so beautiful. And I would like you to share, I know you had some amazing success with making some quantum leaps in your launches. Would you mind sharing a little bit of this with us?
Yes. So before working with Makosi, one of the things I brought up to her was like, I don't know what's going on, but I have been working actively, and like working is relative, like manifesting actively, $1 million launches, because I'm very like goal oriented. Like I like to have those specifics of things that I'm manifesting, like at any point in time. Like for example, right now I'm looking at a check that I have on my wall over here for like a $10 million year. I'm not there yet, but I just know that's my next step. And so that's what keeps me going, and really encourages me, and is a reflection of the amount of lives that I'm going to change when my business looks like that. And so at that time, when I started working with Makosi, my goal at that time was $1 million launch. And I've had that $1 million launch goal for like 2 years. And for 2 years, I got stuck at a plateau. And I'm not saying that this is like a bad launch or anything like that, because for so many people, again, it just depends on where you're at. And you have to recognize that as you grow, each plateau is going to feel like a plateau to you, but like a miracle to someone else. And I recognize that, right? We're all in different places. But where I was at that time, that was frustrating for me personally, just because I knew I was capable of more, was like I think it was like $600,000. I just kept getting stuck every time, no matter what we did, no matter what strategies we implemented, no matter how many people would sign up for like our free workshop leading into the launch. It did not matter. It was like, no matter what, we just kept hitting the ceiling, 600,000, 600,000, 600,000. So I'm like, oh my God. Okay. And then after I hired Makosi in, I think it was like beginning of July of 2020. And we had an upcoming launch in August for Rich Babe Academy. So this is before I built the program that I'm currently running. And I was, Makosi was like, what's your intention? And I'm like, $1 million launch. That's what it's been for the last, 2 years. So of course it's going to be that again. And I feel like with that launch, I just learned to access this very potent energy of neutrality, and neutrality meaning that anything that happens in a launch, what I used to do is I used to react. So let's say day one, not as many students as I think should have signed up for day one to match those end numbers didn't sign up. So, oh no, it's not working. It's not working. And the next day, like more students sign up. It's like, oh my God, it's working. It's working. no, it's not working. No, it's not working. And we're letting the what is external to us to drive the internal, right? Drive the internal emotions and frequencies and energies. And so what I learned is like, no. Nothing has meaning except for the meaning that I give it. And nothing about this launch or any launch in the future, any launch in the past has anything to do with who I am as an entrepreneur. It has nothing to do with my identity and who I am. I just am a brilliant, amazing entrepreneur, no matter what happens in this launch. And I always have other launches where I can improve and receive what it is that I want. And so just embodying that like potent energy of neutrality of like, no matter what happens, I'm still going to be successful. My success is inevitable. And what ended up happening, and Mikosi, like for her, she always tells me how she can obviously see the future. But if she tells you everything in the future, it's going to fuck up the energies, because then it's like I think there's like a movie called The Butterfly Effect or something, where a butterfly flaps its wings somewhere and it just changes the trajectory of the entire planet. And so that can happen. And so she's super careful with that. And of course you get frustrated because you're like, just tell me exactly what you see. And she can't always tell you, because there's things that you need to learn on your own and experience on your own. So she was like, no, Kathryn, like this launch is going to be lit, but like, this is how you need to show up, grounded, centered, like you fucking got this. And I remember texting her at the end of it, because neutrality for me means not letting outside influences in as well. So I keep quiet about everything until the very end. And at the very end, I sent her a Voxer and I was like, so we did 1.85 million. And she's like, I know you would do 1.85 million. And I was just like fucking losing it, because that is 3 times more than our biggest launch. And then what ended up happening the next launch, of course, I had another session with her and I was like, Akosi, now what's fucking with me is that I feel like now I have to live up to the 1.85. And if I don't, then that's going to mean something about me. And she's like, Kathryn, let's refocus, surrender, let go, do all the things. I'll help you. And what I really appreciate about Mikosi is she goes into the root of things. It's never surface level. It's very deep root centered. So she helps me shift whatever is actually underneath the feelings, the emotions, the dramas, the traumas, the pains, or anything like that. And so the next launch did the same thing that I did with the last one. And it was, if I remember correctly, I think it was 2.65 million. And I was like, oh my God. And so now we're going into another launch in a couple of weeks. And I just have like again, it's still, I'm a human being. Sometimes emotions get in the way and stuff like that. But I feel so much more prepared and empowered, and just know that I'm capable of so much. And if I'm able to quantum leap in the past, I'm able to quantum leap again. And it's a matter of me not attaching any timelines to it or any specificities, like not attaching or trying to control the outcome, because again, that's ego-centered, not higher self-centered. So just embodying my higher self to the process. Like I feel like I'm so well equipped to go into my next launch, and we'll see what happens.
Oh my gosh. Seriously. I love all of that. That is so amazing. And what would you say is the most euphoric part about working with Mikosi?
Wow. This is a really hard question to answer, but I think the most euphoric, it's literally everything. And I think that if I had to choose something, it's like the feeling that anything is possible and that I'm worthy and deserving of it all. I think that Mikosi really empowered me to know that, not just believe it, but actually know it on a really deep soul level. And I just feel like, I always teach, my students my affirmation of like, my success is inevitable, but like it's next level embodied now because of the things that Mikosi helped me with.
Yeah. Okay. Last question for you. If someone was listening right now and was interested about working with Mikosi or stepping into one of their containers, what would you tell them?
Obviously, I would tell them to just freaking do it. And like, if not now, trust me, there's this thing where that energy is going to come back around. Like if you're feeling something right now and your intuition's telling you like, like if you feel called and you feel drawn to whether working with her one-on-one or even just like consuming her content on Instagram, there's amazing free content that she offers, or her lower packages or anything like that, any sort of container with Makosi, if you feel called to it and drawn to it, even if you say no right now, which is going to be the wrong decision, it's going to come back around. The only difference is that by the time it comes back around and gets stronger and stronger, because things that we don't listen to, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger because the universe really wants us to learn that lesson. The thing is that a year of your life is going to go by. And then that year of your life could have been, I'm not going to say wasted, but like you could have experienced the quantum leaps before. You could have experienced the shifts before. And so it's better to do it now, because if not now, then when? Right? What is truly the difference between now and this time next year and this time next year, except for time that you lost when you could have been enjoying it, living your best life, and really releasing the things that are holding you back, and really ingraining those frequencies that anything in life is possible for you. And that's just what your destiny is as a soul on this planet at this time.
Yeah, I completely agree. So thank you so much for being here today and sharing your story with us and letting us get to know you a little bit more. And it was just so awesome to meet you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I love this so much. Love Makosi, and you are awesome as well.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.